Okay, so get this. You've been hearing a lot of buzz about Disney Plus lately, right? But it's not about like a new Marvel series or, another live action remake this time. It's about this movie, Kinds of Kindness. And
Sure.
it's really causing a stir, I'll tell you that. The thing is, you're busy. And who really has time to scroll through all the think pieces and hot takes these days? So we're going to dive straight into the heart of this controversy and what it might say about Disney's content strategy as it evolves.
It is a pretty wild situation, isn't it? I mean, you've got this highly explicit R-rated film landing right on a platform that's practically built its whole reputation on being, family friendly. I read one comment, it was describing it as like seeing a crocodile at the dog park. And I thought that was a pretty spot on analogy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I love that. It really paints a picture, doesn't it, of how unexpected this whole thing feels. But before we get into all the nitty-gritty
Yeah,
of the actual controversy, I think it's important to understand the context a little bit.
absolutely. Yeah. We need to zoom out a little and look at Disney Plus' bigger strategy here. You remember that Star Hub that they introduced a while back?
Yeah.
Well, that's their way of trying to offer content that's geared towards a more mature audience, without totally bitching their family-friendly image. It's a real balancing act. They're trying to compete with those streaming giants, like Netflix and HBO Max, which have always had these more diverse libraries. Right. But at the same time, they want to hold on to that, that core Disney brand.
So it's like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, huh? Appeal to the adults, but not scare away all the kids. But okay, let's get to the heart of it. What is it about this kinds of kindness that has people so riled up?
Well, there's this one particular scene, right, that's sparking a lot of debate. It's pretty graphic. It features full frontal nudity and a group encounter. And, for a lot of viewers, that's just not what they're expecting to see on Disney Plus San, right? They're arguing that the platform should have been more upfront about the film's content, like with clearer warnings and stuff.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see how that would be jarring. You're just scrolling through Disney Plus, him expecting to see, maybe a heartwarming Pixar movie, and then bam, something completely different hits you. It makes you wonder if this is like a sign of things to come. Are we going to see like more and more R-rated content creeping into Disney Plus, San? And what does that even mean for their brand identity?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it gets even more interesting when you consider that Emma Stone, who stars in the film, have actually publicly said that she trusts the director, Yorgos Lanthimos, despite all this controversy. And this isn't their first film together either. They also collaborated on Poor Things, another R-rated film that kind of pushed some boundaries.
So it's not like she's, oblivious to the potential for controversy here, which really makes you wonder, right? What is it about Lanthimos' work that she finds so compelling? Is it the artistic merit of his films, even if they contain, this explicit content? Or is she trying to make a statement about what she thinks is acceptable in cinema these days?
It adds another layer to this whole conversation, doesn't it? Exactly. And it's not just about one actress or one director even. This whole situation with Kinds of Kindness, it really points to this much larger trend that we're seeing across all the streaming services. How do these platforms even navigate content moderation and audience expectations, especially in this media landscape that's constantly shifting?
Right.
It's like walking a tightrope between offering diverse content to try and attract, a wider audience and potentially alienating the viewers who feel kind of blindsided by material that they just think is inappropriate.
It's like the streaming world is having its own identity crisis, huh? Trying to figure out who they are, who they want to be. And what's fascinating is that Disney Plus isn't the only one, right, that's grappling with this.
You're absolutely right. Actually, one of the other articles that you sent me is about a new Christmas thriller on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Carry On. And get this. It's drawing comparisons to Die Hard, of all things.
Oh, okay. Now, this I have to hear more about. So we've got Disney Plus is dipping their toes in the R-rated waters. And now we've got Netflix releasing a Christmas action flick. It seems like the lines are getting blurrier than ever between these platforms.
Right. And what's interesting is that both Kinds of Kindness and Carry On, they're both raising these really similar questions about content categorization and how transparent these platforms really need to be with their viewers. How do they signal that a particular film might have material that some people find offensive or inappropriate, right? Where do they draw the line between artistic freedom and responsible content curation?
It sounds like we're entering this whole new era of streaming. where the old rules just don't apply anymore. And that means we as viewers, we need to be more discerning, right, about what we watch and where we watch it. But before we dive into all that, let's unpack this Carry On situation a little bit more. What is it about this film that's making people compare it to Die Hard?
Well, for starters, the plot sounds pretty Die Hard-esque. You've got this TSA agent, played by Taron Egerton, who gets blackmailed into smuggling something dangerous onto a plane. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, things go sideways. And he ends up having to, fight off all these bad guys to save the day.
Wait, so it's like Die Hard, but set on a plane. That's kind of brilliant.
Right. It's a classic formula,
Yeah.
But it seems like they're giving it a modern twist. Jason Bateman's playing the villain. And the director, he said that he was specifically going for this, grounded and contemporary take on Die Hard. But for today's audience...
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. So we've got this action-packed thriller on Netflix, a platform that's known for everything, right? From rom-coms to documentaries. Mm-hmm. And then over on Disney Plus Zem, we've got them venturing into R-rated territory with it just seems like both platforms are kind of pushing the boundaries here of their traditional content categories.
Exactly. Yeah. And that raises some really interesting questions, doesn't it, about content moderation, again, and audience expectations. Yeah. I mean, when you think of Netflix, you don't necessarily think of, these high-octane action movies. And then when you think of Disney Plus Beats, well, definitely don't think of explicit content. So how do these platforms even manage those expectations as they expand their libraries? And try to, appeal to a wider audience.
It's a tricky balance, isn't it? They want to attract new viewers, but without alienating their core base. And I feel like just slapping on a simple age rating might not be enough in these cases.
Yeah, right. It's not just about age anymore. It's about the overall tone and context of the content. Yeah. And it's about being transparent with viewers so they can make informed decisions about what they watch.
Yep. Right.
Speaking of transparency, let's go back to Kinds of Kindness for a second. Yeah. It's not just the explicit nature of that one scene that's causing all this, this stir. It's the fact that it's on Disney Plus Two, right? Yeah. A platform that so many people associate with, family-friendly entertainment.
Exactly. It's that unexpected juxtaposition that's creating the controversy. If that same scene were in an R-rated film on HBO Max, let's say, it probably wouldn't even raise an eyebrow. Mm-hmm. But because it's on Disney Plus, it just feels jarring and inappropriate to some viewers.
Yeah. It's like that crocodile at the dog park analogy that we were talking about. It just doesn't quite fit. And it makes you wonder, where do we draw the line between artistic expression and responsible content curation?
Well, that is the million-dollar question. And there's no easy answer. Yeah. On the one hand, we want to allow for creative freedom and diversity of content, but on the other hand, we need to be mindful of the potential impact that content can have on viewers, especially younger viewers. Yeah, it's a complex issue for sure, and it's something that streaming platforms are going to have to grapple with more and more, as they keep expanding their libraries and try to be everything to everyone.
Absolutely, and it's not just a challenge for the platforms either. Yeah, we as viewers, I think we need to become more aware of our own expectations and viewing habits.
You mean like being more discerning about what we choose to watch and where we watch it?
Exactly. We live in a world of just endless content now, which, can be both a blessing and a curse. It's amazing to have so much choice.
Yeah, it can also be overwhelming. And it's really easy to fall into the trap of passive consumption, just letting the algorithms tell us what to watch.
Oh, I am definitely guilty of that. I'll start scrolling through Netflix and end up watching something that I wasn't even looking for just because it, popped up in my recommendations.
That's the thing. These algorithms are designed to keep us hooked, right? But we need to remember that we have the power to choose. We can be more intentional about what we watch. So how do we do that? How do we break free from the algorithm and become more mindful viewers?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing that we don't have to watch everything. It's okay to be selective, and it's okay to say no to that endless stream of recommendations.
It's like giving ourselves permission to be choosy, huh? To curate our own viewing experience rather than letting it be curated for us. But let's be honest, it's hard to resist that temptation to just keep scrolling and see what's next. It's like a digital addiction.
You're right. It's like we're constantly chasing that next dopamine hit. The next exciting show or movie. And that can lead to what's often called content fatigue.
Content fatigue. Tell me more about that. I think I might be suffering from that.
It's a real phenomenon,
Mm-hmm.
and it's becoming increasingly common in this age of streaming. It's basically a state of mental exhaustion that's caused by overexposure to content. You might feel overwhelmed, unable to focus, and even, lose interest in things that you used to enjoy.
Okay. That's definitely me. I have so many shows on my watch list, but I can never seem to find the energy or the motivation to actually start watching them. It's like I'm drowning in content, but starving for actual enjoyment.
And that's the irony of it all, isn't it? We have access to more entertainment than ever before, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're more satisfied or fulfilled. In fact, sometimes it can have the opposite effect.
So what's the antidote to all this content fatigue? Do we need to go on like a digital detox, delete all of our streaming apps?
Well, those are certainly options, and, they can be helpful for some people, but I think the key is developing a healthier relationship with content, being mindful of our consumption habits, making conscious choices about what we watch and how we watch it.
So it's not about giving up streaming altogether. It's about being more intentional about how we use it.
Exactly. And that's something we can all do, regardless of how much time we spend online. It's about setting boundaries, prioritizing quality over quantity, and remembering that it's okay to disconnect and take breaks.
I love that. Disconnecting to reconnect with, what really matters. It's like hitting the reset button on our entertainment habits.
Yeah.
But what about the social aspect of all this? Everyone's always talking about, the latest shows. How do we stay connected without getting caught up in the content frenzy?
It's like we've traded genuine enjoyment for just this feeling of being, in the loop.
Yeah. But the thing is, true connection, I think, it comes from authentic sharing, right? Talking about the things that really move us, whether it's, a super popular show or maybe like a hidden gem that only a few people have even heard of.
So it's more about the quality of the conversation than the popularity of the content.
Exactly. Imagine having like a deep, insightful conversation with a friend about a documentary that really spoke to both of you. I mean, that's going to be way more meaningful than just exchanging surface level opinions about a show that everyone's watching just because it's, trendy. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's about shifting the focus from keeping up to actually connecting. But how do we make that shift? Do we need to become hermits and avoid all social media?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, social media can still be a great way to, discover new content and connect with people who share your interests. The key is just being mindful of how you're using it.
Yeah.
Are you just kind of scrolling passively and letting the algorithm tell you what to see? Yeah. Or are you actively looking for content that that actually aligns with your values and your interests?
Right. It's like taking control of the steering wheel instead of letting the algorithm drive us wherever it wants.
Exactly. And remember, it's okay to be selective about what you engage with. You don't have to comment on every post or watch every single show that pops up in your feed. It's perfectly fine to say, you know what, this just doesn't resonate with me, and move on.
That's a very liberating thought. It's like giving ourselves permission to curate our own online experience, both in terms of the content that we consume and the conversations that we participate in. But let's be honest, it's easy to get caught up in the hype, especially when it seems like everyone's talking about the same thing, right?
It's true. That fear of missing out, that FOMO, it's a powerful thing. But here's something to consider. Wouldn't you rather miss out on a few trendy shows than miss out on the chance to really connect with something that truly speaks to, your soul?
Oh, I love that. Missing out on the hype. To find what really resonates, it's like choosing quality over quantity, not just with the content itself, but with our social interactions as well.
And that's really what it all comes down to, I think. In a world of just, endless content, the most valuable things that we can cultivate are our own discerning taste and that ability to choose, what nourishes our minds and our spirits.
That's a powerful message to end on. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you, the listener, with this thought. Be the curator of your own entertainment journey. Choose wisely, watch intentionally, and connect meaningfully. That's the real power of streaming in this digital age.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll sign up. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. See you next time.
So we've been talking about how easy it is to get swept up in this whole streaming content whirlwind, right? But how do we navigate that social side of things? It feels like everyone's always buzzing about the, the latest shows. Are we just destined to be left out if we're trying to be more mindful about our choices?
That's a great question. And it really it gets at how streaming has kind of like changed our whole social landscape. It's true, like those shared viewing experiences, they can be such a powerful way to connect with others, right? And it's totally natural to want to be part of those conversations.
Yeah. I know I've definitely felt that pressure before. Like I need to watch a certain show just so I can, chime in with my friends. But then I end up feeling kind of resentful because I'm not actually enjoying it.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's like we've traded genuine enjoyment for just this feeling of being, in the loop. But here's the thing. True connection, I think, it comes from authentic sharing, right? Talking about the things that genuinely move us, whether it's, a super popular show or maybe like a hidden gem that only a few people have even heard of.
So it's more about the quality of the conversation than the popularity of the content.
Exactly. Imagine having this like deep, insightful conversation with a friend about a documentary that really spoke to both of you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be way more meaningful than just exchanging surface level opinions about a show that everyone's watching just because it's, trendy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's about shifting the focus from keeping up to actually connecting. But how do we even make that shift? Do we need to like become hermits and avoid all social media?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, the social media can still be a great way to, discover new content and to connect with people who share your interest. The key is just being mindful of how you're using it. Are you just kind of scrolling passively and letting the algorithm tell you what to see, or are you actively looking for content that actually aligns with your values and your interests?
Right. It's like taking control of the steering wheel instead of letting the algorithm drive us, wherever it wants.
Exactly. And remember, it's okay to be selective about what you engage with. You don't have to comment on every post or watch every show that pops up in your feed. It's perfectly fine to just say, you know what? This doesn't resonate with me, and move on.
That's a very liberating thought. It's like giving ourselves permission to curate our own online experience, both in terms of the content we consume and the conversations that we participate in. But let's be honest. It's easy to get caught up in the hype, right? Especially when it seems like everyone's talking about the same thing.
It's true. That fear of missing out, that FOMO, it's powerful. But here's something to consider. Wouldn't you rather miss out on a few trendy shows than miss out on the chance to really connect with something that truly speaks to you, that truly speaks to your soul?
Oh, I love that. Missing out on the hype to find what really resonates. It's like choosing quality over quantity, right? Not just with the content itself, but with our social interactions as well.
And that's really what it all comes down to, I think. In a world of just, endless content, the most valuable things that we can cultivate are our own discerning taste.
Yeah.
And the ability to choose what nourishes our minds and our spirits.
That's a really powerful message to end on. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you, the listener, with this thought. Be the curator of your own entertainment journey, right? Choose wisely, watch intentionally, and connect meaningfully. That's the real power of streaming in this digital age.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll sign off. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.